All these people passed away, and there's a lot more. This wall is all people who have lost their lives early to addiction. Yeah, this is from Akron. We're just not going to treat our way out of this epidemic. The only way we're going to eradicate it is through education and prevention and stop the kids from using. Because we have seen people go through programs 10 and 12 different times and go to treatment and just never get it and end up dying.
كانت أجماس في الماضي مدمنا على المخدرات، وهو الآن يدير أحد المراكز غير الحكومية لمكافحة الإدمان.
The one guy up here, he was a house monitor at New Destiny Treatment Center, and they found him literally dead like this, standing up, dead. A guy up here and his girlfriend, they were found in their apartment that they'd just gotten cuddled up, and they were dead for like 3 days, holding each other.
يعيش في أكرون نحو 200,000 نسمة. قبل 100 عام كانت المدينة إحدى أسرع مدن الولايات المتحدة نموا، لا سيما أنها كانت مشهورة بإنتاج المطاط وإطارات السيارات. أما في السنوات ال50 الأخيرة فتقلص عدد سكان المدينة بنحو الثلث، ولا يزال العدد في تناقص. اليوم تشتهر أكرون بأنها عاصمة الميثامفيتامين في أوهايو، مدينة يتزايد فيها عدد المدمنين على المخدرات عاماً إثر عام. وقد صور هذا الفيلم في عدة مراكز غير حكومية لإعادة تأهيل المدمنين. أبطال هذا الفيلم هم من الذين لا يزالون يعيشون هناك أو عاشوا ذات حين.
We are at the Emma Recovery Residence, a home that's been in my family for over 50 years, 53 years, I believe. You know, I've read some editorials and such lately wherein people are saying that the worst is behind us, and that is far from true. The statistics, such as they are disappointing now. They just released a county report wherein we're on track to outpace last year's deaths significantly.
يؤجر رينار باكارد غرفاً للذين خرجوا من السجن أو من المستوصف الحكومي لإعادة تأهيل مدمني المخدرات ممن يحتاجون إلى سكن آمن مؤقت. السكن مجاني إلى أن يعثر الإنسان على عمل.
I'm Cal, 10 months into this journey. I mean, really that I'm alive, that's huge. My last drink and drug use, I jumped out my 4-story apartment window onto the sidewalk and should not be alive here today, should not be able to walk. Just another thing with this whole recovery thing, just do the next right thing and, you know, things tend to work out.
I'm Dan. January, I got an infection from shooting up. I had to get a surgery on my back. The doctors told me like if I'd waited like another day or two that I'd either be paralyzed or I would have died. Just get my health back and be more grateful to still be alive. Yeah, the last time I was in here, I was smoking a bong right here while I was cooking some kind of drug in the kitchen. Just grateful. Renard gave me another chance to come back.
ليا وكوري التقيا عندما استأجر كلاهما غرفة عند رينارد. لدى كل منهما تجربة مع تعاطي الهيروين والميثامفيتامين تزيد عن 10 سنين. كوري ترعرع في أسرة فقيرة في فيرجينيا الغربية، أما ليا فتخلت أمه عنها بعد ولادتها مباشرة.
And that's me. That's the baby. It was right after they adopted me. I was adopted at 4 days old. I've met my birth mom, but she doesn't even know who my dad is, so big mystery. Don't really care. It's not important. I have a great family anyway, so. And then that's my senior picture. So I was 17 and a half there. And I was blonde then.
تقول ليا أن والديها بالتبني كانا ثريين ومحبين، بيد أن ذلك لم ينقذها من الإدمان. كوري وليا يحافظان منذ عام على امتناعهما عن المخدرات.
I was just broken. You know, I broke in college when I was raped in that stairwell. You know, that's when I was started drinking, and that's when the addiction in me was like awakened, but never like fed consistently or like nourished. Like, I mean, I nurtured my heroin. It made everything that was broken inside of me go away.
عندما تعرفنا بروب رولكس كان في ذاك الحين يعمل في أحد مراكز المدينة لإعادة التأهيل. لم يكن يتعاطى منذ عام ونصف العام. إلى جانب عمله التنظيمي كان يلتقي المدمنين في الشوارع على أمل أن يساعدهم في تغيير حياتهم.
Hopefully, be able to talk to this young man and plant that seed, man. That's what it's all about, you know. All it takes is that one person connecting with another person, you know, to believe in somebody else.
What's up, Chad? I'm sure I probably met you before, man. You're John's cousin, man. You look familiar.
Jack White's my uncle.
I'm right. I'm Rob. Who's your uncle, Jack White?
Kathy White's my mom.
Okay, sounds familiar.
I mean, the research is pretty conclusive. I mean, we have genetic markers for addiction, the disposition towards addiction. Certainly it is a learned behavior as well. So now we have 3 generations of people under the same roof who know active addiction. And again, that's a pathology that's pretty entrenched. I mean, how do you interrupt that cycle when grandma's high on pills? Dad's wasted on this, and you know the kids are on meth. Where do you start to untangle that one?
But I'm getting there, bro. Like, cause I don't want to be a statistic. I want to give my kids stuff that I didn't have. Like, I was in and out of foster homes my whole life. My dad couldn't manage his money. My mom was on dope. My aunts and uncles. I came up here when I was 14. I came up to Ohio, and my whole family were drug addicts.
It was a perfect storm of factors. We're just now peeling back the layers of trauma. Throughout much of the 1990s and beyond, doctors were encouraged and in some cases incentivized to overprescribe. We have towns, small towns, here in Ohio, surrounding us that have been prescribed millions of pills. I mean, enough to sedate a small country. Then we had the Sinaloa cartels and the other Mexican cartels who have distribution centers throughout the Rust Belt and the Midwest. Ohio, very central among them.
السبب الرئيس الآن لاستمرار تناقص عدد سكان أوهايو وفقا لمجلة الجمعية الطبية الأمريكية هو الإدمان على المخدرات وما ينتج عنه من زيادة الجرعات. وقد تزايد مستوى الوفيات في الفئة العمرية من 25 إلى 64 بنسبة 20%، وذلك خلال 7 سنوات.
This memorial was actually conceived and built by the young people of our residents here, our recovery residents. Part of who we are, part of what we do is we provide ceremony in these young people's lives. The ceremony of death, which started about in 2013. We buried our first young guy from the house here. And it has not abated, and they are succumbing, you know, one after the next. So these are all the personalized tags of the young souls who came to us and sought help, and there's more coming. We had a couple of our crew, of our sort of core guys who lived at the house. When they left against counsel, 48 hours later, they were dead. Relapse and their hearts stopped. Pick back up. Part of the challenge is if you stay in recovery, obviously your tolerance lowers significantly. So you go back out and believe me, the lay of the land has changed significantly. I mean, we're talking about a chemical that can stop your heart with the net mass of a grain of salt. Can stop your heart.
يقصد رينار الفينتانيل والكارفينتانيل. إن هذه المواد الأفيونية المسكنة تشابه في خصائصها الهيروين، لكنها أقوى بكثير. على سبيل المثال الكارفينتانيل أقوى 100 مرة من الفينتانيل و5000 مرة من الهيروين. هذه الأدوية أدت إلى حالات جماعية من زيادة الجرعات. إنها مخدرات رخيصة الثمن، ويضيفها الباعة إلى الهيروين لكي يكسبوا أكثر ويقدموا مزيدا من الكيف بمال أقل، ويفاقمون إدمان المتعاطي. يصعب على تجار المخدرات تقدير الجرعات القاتلة من هذه الأدوية، ونتيجة لذلك يموت الكثيرون بسبب زيادة الجرعات، ومن يبقى على قيد الحياة يعاني عذابا شديدا.
Doing too much and hitting the ground.
See, I used to always think that why would you want to kill off your clientele? But then when I used to also hear about people dying, say Ray over here.
I want that.
Yeah, 3 people just died off of it. Oh, that's that good stuff, man. We got to go get that. That guy was just crazy. He did too much. He didn't know what he was doing. I'm different. You don't know who I am? Man, I'm Rob Rawlings. You don't know who you are, Chuck Dog? And we ain't going to do the same thing.
You know, hey,
what
bro,
I'm
we
saying?
got it, bro.
You know?
Let's go
And
get
then,
it.
Bam.
Both of us, we're done. Both of us hit the ground. We're in a house. There's nobody around us. Guess what? Done. That's simple, bro.
That's easy. I used to love my sweet too. Yeah, let me get a couple. Perfect, my man.
أصبحت تجارة المخدرات في أكرون مصدراً سهلاً لدخل الكثيرين، وإن حاول أحد التخلي عن التعاطي فذلك صعب، لأن تجار المخدرات موجودون في كل مكان.
It's not hard. One time I moved into a sober house and I didn't want to be sober yet, but I thought I did. But I was walking to the bus, from the sober house. It was over on Brown Street, great area. And I literally met my dealer walking to the bus stop. He was like, "Hey, you want a sample?" That's how easy it is, And I was like, "Sure." Like, what you got? And that was one of my relapses.
One curious byproduct, of course, of the epidemic is the commensurate epidemic of crime. I just read here where 3 young guys right down the street here were shot in a running gun battle. I mean, we're talking about a small city. We're 90,000 people, and we've got running gun battles up. It's like Chicago in the 30s, right? It's a wave of crime. I've had rounds hit the building next door, 9mm rounds right through the picture windows. So, this is the Wild West, courtesy of the epidemic.
All right, where are we gonna put this at in here?
Right here. Oh, Michelle.
That's what I was trying to get it. I'm not a mom.
I'm not either. Okay, we're at ABC Church, Akron Bible Church on Brown Street, and we came here to do trunk or treat. It's where the kids travel trunk to trunk, car to car in their costumes and get candy.
Okay, if you drop it, step out.
Because Halloween's coming up, and it's a recovery church, and it's what they do. Majority of everybody that's here is in recovery from some sort of addiction. It's a rough neighborhood.
Go.
لدى أليكسا كولغروف 4 أطفال. لقد توقفت عن تناول الميثامفيتامين منذ أكثر من عام. هي تربط إدمانها على المخدرات والجنس بطفولتها الصعبة.
My dad raised me working out, boxing. He raised me like as if I was his son instead of his daughter. So that's how I dressed. And a lot of people would make fun of me for it. That, and then at home, my dad choosing my stepmom over me, I feel like, because she didn't like me and she didn't like the relationship that my dad and I had, and he kind of wanted to please her, which kind of left me lonely. I think that's where it all came into play. I just wanted to sleep with somebody, even if it was for one night, just that, 5 minutes or an hour or a couple hours of being with somebody for one night made me feel like I had self-worth. The drugs would numb it, but then the more people I slept with, or the more bad things that I did, or people that I hurt, I'd have to use more drugs to try to numb those feelings on top of the feelings I'm already numbing, and it was just a process that never ended, and then eventually it got to the point where nothing worked.
This is the place where I played baseball, yes.
I was real good at it. Played in the Little League World Series when I was 14.
very good at it. Baseball was my escape. Baseball was my getaway because of the childhood that I had growing up. I used it as a driving force. When I have my moments, I still come down here. This is my safe zone, if you will. You know, I love being around kids, and I love, you know, helping kids and stuff, to the point where ultimately, I don't want to say I use them for their kids, but I go over and I spend more time over there because they have kids, because it allows me to decompress.
Some more milk here.
You know, I wasn't there for my kids. My mom did the best she could, man.
Don't be shy. Ugh, that's good chocolate milk, ain't it?
My dad was very physically, emotionally, mentally abusive.
تقول لي أنها ممتنة لأبيها بالتبني، فطيلة سنوات إدمانها بقي على ثقته بها، وبفضل ذلك استطاعت في نهاية المطاف أن تتخلص من الإدمان وأن تبني أسرة مع كوري وأن تعيش في بيتها الخاص في منطقة جيدة آمنة.
I've lost so many clothes in my using days and relapsing and stuff. My poor dad, every time I'd go to treatment, he'd have to pretty much buy me new clothes. He got so good at going to the store and getting women's clothing. The ladies at the store knew him. They're like, "Oh, she need more clothes?" Yup. My dad found this neighborhood for us. He thought it would be a good place to start a family.
Yeah, without her dad, we would not be here.
No.
But that's what it takes. It takes family support.
Baby stuff.
More baby stuff. This is for the...
Oh, the cover.
So here we are.
Yeah.
We're about ready.
We're getting there. So the Raggedy Ann and Andy's, I've had those since I was a baby. My mom got those. They're collector's items now, I guess. My dad saved them for all these years and then gave them to me for Lizzie.
We are at Mount Peace Cemetery in the Highland Square area of Akron, Ohio. We come every morning, of course, for Pi to do his thing, but we also visit a number of our misfit gang. And this place is fairly planted with them. Now, Tom was 36. He was actually one of the Institute's very first volunteers and staff people. Just tremendously creative spirit. Really a beautiful person, too. He looked like a Viking. But 36 he was.
سيت إيبل كان قد استأجر سابقاً غرفة عند رينارد لاجتياز مرحلة إعادة التأهيل من الإدمان. كان ابناً بالتبني لأسرة لينس وكارول إيبل، وهي أسرة متدينة ميسورة مالياً وناجحة بكل المعاني.
We are farmers. One more. We are farmers.
It was 18 days that our son has passed away. He died on November 12th. I got the call at 8:36 in the morning.
Seth had a particular addiction to, alcohol was an issue for him, but cough syrup. And that's, it's called DXM, the active ingredient in cough syrup.
Dextromethorphan.
And they also, the street name for it is called robo-tripping, from Robitussin. And what he would do is he would drink several bottles of it, and it would cause a hallucinogenic effect. And that's what he was going for. I mean, he'd been pretty much with using drugs for about 12 years. He did have some very stringent rules that he voiced that no meth, no heroin. You know, he said those, don't mess with those. So he really, we believe he thought he had a handle on this, that he was using it properly, and he was not quite willing to give it up.
He thought he could handle it.
Yeah.
Seth Apple.
Boy.
Well, we had Lizzie, little Elizabeth, on November 6th at 1:55 p.m. So this isn't my first child, it's Corey's first child. My first child was adopted by my choosing. Me and my family decided it was the best option, and, you know, my cousins ended up adopting her. But the first time was just, it was a mess. You know, I was trying to understand sobriety and then trying to become a mother at the same time, and it like just fundamentally didn't work.
التقينا أول مرة في يونيو من عام 2019 وتقابلنا آخر مرة في فبراير عام 2020. في هذا الوقت كان قد أغلق مركز إعادة التأهيل الذي كان يعمل فيه روب رولينغز، وانهار روب وراح يتعاطى المخدرات. إنه ينهض كل يوم في 5 صباحاً ويعيش بشكل أساس في الفنادق، إذ إن لديه كثير من الرحلات من أجل العمل، وهو يكسب حسب ما يقول أكثر من أي وقت مضى، ويشعر أنه إنسان سعيد، ويحلم بأنه حتى نهاية العام سيدخر ما يكفي من المال لكي يستأجر بيته الخاص ويتخلص من الإدمان.
The most important thing about recovery, man, don't lose yourself trying to help other people find themselves. Obviously, everybody wants to help everybody. The epidemic is ridiculous out there. Take care of yourself before you take care of somebody else. You know, you're no good to nobody else if you're pouring from an empty cup. You can't transmit something you don't have. Running a house with 14 guys, and every time I would get down, every time I would hurt, every time I would feel pain, I would go find one of the guys in the house and see what they needed done. Because you see, you get a good feeling when you help somebody else. Problem is you can't use that as a substitute. Instead of me going out and shooting dope when I'm feeling like that, I was going and grabbing somebody else and helping them, and that's the same thing. You know, if I don't fix the problem, and the problem's me, then it's just putting a Band-Aid on it, because when that stuff goes away, just like the drugs, you're gonna get sick. So, you know, I was using the guys as my drugs. So actually, I had relapsed in my head a long time before I ever put the drug in me. See, relapse is it's a process. It starts mentally, and then it goes to emotional. By the time you get to the physical part, it's just simply picking back up.
Only 7% of addicts will ever get clean or something like that.
Yeah, and it takes a heroin addict, on average, they relapse 8 times if they don't die. If you add up every treatment center I've been in since I started on my journey in recovery, and then the relapse, and then back in recovery, and then relapse, and et cetera, I've spent almost close to 3 years in programs, and that's not counting time that I spent in sober living. You know, but every time I went, you know, it planted a seed, and I made more connections. It wasn't all for naught, you know, because I'm sitting here and I'm alive, and I am giving back to the community that I used to be a burden on, right?
أنهت ليا دراستها في كلية المدربين الإنسانيين في مجال إعادة التأهيل التي نظمها رينارد، وهي لا تتعاطى منذ 2 عام، وتنوي الآن أن تستخدم خبرتها لكي تساعد المدمنين على كسر الحلقة المفرغة ولكي يتمكنوا من تغيير حياتهم.
They have this false belief that the streets care about them, and those people support them that are out on the street. But if they get some support over here, you know, and you can introduce them to like a better way of living slowly. No, it's not going to be fast, and it's not going to, you know, but maybe they will one day, you know, maybe they won't. That's like the saddest thing about this field is you're going to watch people die, and you're going to watch them kill themselves.
أتمت أليكسا كولغراف دراستها ولكنها لم تعمل بعد. إنها تحاول في البدء أن ترتب شؤون حياتها وتركز اهتمامها على الأطفال.
You know, my children, I have 4 kids with 3 different dads. My first daughter's father hung himself. My second kids, the middle 2 children that I have, Dallas and Colton, who are 5 and 4, their dad is a bad alcoholic. He's clean right now. But the last kid that I have, his dad is in active addiction still to this day. So chances are 1 out of 4 of my kids will be an addict, at least. But if I live the right way and show them how to live instead of tell them how to live, then I've done my job. I can only lead by example, and if they choose the opposite way, that's okay. I'll be here for them. I won't enable them, but I will be here for them.
Just a couple of news items. Is anyone following what's happening in Franklin County this week? 28 deaths in 10 days. Again, that's 28 deaths in 1 county in the past 10 days.
يتابع رينار عمله في إعادة تأهيل المدمنين السابقين، وهو يرى أن الإدمان ليس مجرد مرض نفسي وجسدي، بل هو داء مرتبط بقوة الإرادة، فقوة الإرادة والتطلع لأهداف سامية والإيمان بالقدرة على تحقيق هذه الأهداف هو ما يسرع في التخلص من الإدمان.
Again, I think it's important to note that it's not an opioid epidemic. I mean, perhaps ultimately it's an epidemic of spirit. It's the fact that we've become so disconnected, so bereft of spirit and community. Moving forward, now a lot of you